With the need for more skilled workers comes the need for more education. Jobs are requiring more education than ever before. In places where an associate's degree might work, we are now requiring a bachelor's degree. The same goes on up through the ranks. While we are becoming a more educated society, we are also becoming a more indebted society. Higher education comes with a steeper price tag. In its most recent survey, the College Board reports that a moderate college budget for an in-state public college for 2015-2016 academic year averaged $24,061. A moderate budget at a private college averaged $47,831. If students are not able to pay for college or get grants or scholarships, they are forced to take out student loans. Taking out student loans is fairly simple. The companies will keep providing loan money as long as the students are enrolled in taking classes. When the student is finished with school, they have 6 months to start repayment of the loans. Students going into the workforce are now faced with mounting interest, trying to find gainful employment, and the repercussions of not being able to pay the bill. Students want more and more amenities than ever before. Students are expecting more and still want to pay less. Colleges want a more residential family feel to draw more students. It's gone so far as to even adding water parks. Texas Tech is trying to make itself stand out with its huge water park. The University of Akron has a wellness center with a spa. Missouri has an indoor waterfall and a grotto inspired by the Playboy Mansion. All of this is to entice students to enroll at their school. More states are not funding colleges. States are looking to skimp on costs and cut down spending, and education suffers. They have all but quit paying for higher education. When the Great Recession hit, states cut funding to public higher education institutes. The only two states that continue to pay as much as they did before the recession are Alaska and North Dakota. Budget cuts by the state are making it harder for students to afford college. The difference in public and private education and state colleges lay in how they are funded. This affects students because funding is tied to tuition prices. Most public universities and colleges were founded by state governments, some as early as the 1800s, to give residents the opportunity to receive a public education. Today, state governments pay for most of the operating costs of public universities. They oversee the institution and through appointed board of trustees. Private colleges don't get funding, so the tuition is higher. Public schools still receive funding, but the students pay the difference in tuition costs. $41.7 million working college graduates in 2010 didn't require the bachelor's degree that they worked so hard to get. 48% of the class of 2010 to be exact. The 38% of those polled didn't even need a high school diploma. The authors of the article said that the country could be overeducating its citizens and asked if too many public dollars were being spent on producing graduates that the nation's economy doesn't need. In a report, researchers claim that 15% of taxi drivers in the country had at least a bachelor's degree in 2010 compared to the 1% in 1970. Those with higher education are less likely to use unemployment, but they're also filling jobs that are beyond their scope of practice. Loan debt in the U.S. is soaring. Graduating students are finding it harder to find a job. If you don't have a job, you can't pay off the loans. When this happens, a student can try to defer the payments. If the loan company refuses to defer your payment, then you don't have any other options. Then you default on your loan. When students default on their loans, it adds to the stress of an already stressful situation. You don't have a job, and you can't pay back your loans. They can garnish your wages and put liens on your house. In the last 10 years, tuition has gone up 40%. Colleges have no stake in what happens to the loan money. They get their tuition paid regardless of whether students pass or not. Colleges need to take a bigger step in making sure that loans are repaid. Is college education worth the cost? It depends on who you ask. On one end of the spectrum, you may have somebody who's found a job and they believe that absolutely college is definitely worth it. On the other end of the spectrum, you have someone else who wasn't able to find a job, and they're going to tell you probably not. They paid more for their student loans and the cost of college than they're ever going to recoup in a minimum wage job that they had to take because they couldn't find a job in their preferred field. Educated people are working in areas that they're just not educated for. We still need educated people, but it's a very slippery slope. Are you overeducating yourself, or are you undereducating yourself? If you only complete a college diploma, you don't have as many opportunities as somebody with a degree. But if you get the degree, are you going to get the job in the field that you want? There needs to be major reform in the education system. Companies are providing loans to people who may not be able to repay them, such as the man who couldn't find the job. How is he going to repay the loan and still pay the house payment if he can't find a job in his preferred field? As long as you're enrolled in school, you can keep getting loans. You can keep getting loans for anything that you need. It's almost impossible to get rejected for a student loan. Universities aren't responsible for collecting anything on the loan. All they do is collect their tuition and cut you a check for what's left. They don't have to pay for anything. All they need is to get their money and to go on. They just continue about their business. So who do you blame? Do you blame the university, or do you blame the company that keeps providing the loans?